Hi, everyone. We're going live today with Jason Fonger, and I'm really excited to hear about his vegan journey and his triathlete performance, his podcast, and his coaching and advice for dealing with naysayers and for new vegans. So it's going to be exciting today. So thanks so much for joining either live or watching the replay. Hi there.
Hey there.
How are
Okay.
you? Good,
Good.
good.
How are you?
I'm playing around with some. I'm fine, thanks. I think we have a little bit of a delay.
Yeah, I was a bit laggy there. I think it might be getting better now, though.
Yes, yes.
There we
I'm
go.
playing around with filters today, so you're going to see
Oh, that's
some
fun.
sparkly bubbles floating all.
I dig it. I dig it. Right on.
Yeah. Thank you. So thanks so much for taking the time. I know
Oh,
everyone's
my pleasure.
busy,
Oh, thanks
and
for having me.
awesome, awesome. And I did post our topics on the bottom. I just pinned them on the bottom there. And as folks come in, I'll just pause and say hi, and then we can continue.
Right on. Sounds good.
Cool, cool. So
Do you
go ahead.
do you record this at all, or I guess will this be up for? Do you leave it up for 24 hours, or is it just the live?
No, I, I leave it up forever.
Oh, cool. Oh, you okay? Awesome. Great. Right on. Very cool.
Yeah, because it's saved to IGTV.
Perfect.
And so it's up there forever. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Right on.
So I will
Very cool.
actually I'll post it to my feed and to stories, and then everyone can see the link to the actual recording.
Oh, cool. Right on. Sweet, looking forward to it. I'm just out on
Cool, cool.
I'm out on
So
a deck right now, getting under the sky, trying to get some sunlight.
totally, we gotta get that vitamin D.
Exactly. Sure do. We sure do. Where are you
Yeah,
based out of? Have you got
I
some sunshine where
am
you are
near.
or
Yes, I'm in the Northeast, so I'm near Boston.
oh, okay, not
And
far then.
I had lots of sunshine and fresh air, lots of birds this morning. So it was just awesome.
Love it.
Yeah, yeah. So I think we should jump right in, and then let's see how far we can get through all of our topics here today.
Let's do it. I'm excited.
Cool, cool. So the first question for you, Jason, is if you could share your vegan journey with us, how you started and how you arrived to where you are today, please.
Sure, yeah. So I started, I guess the journey started when I was probably I think I was 13 or 14, and I was listening to a band called Goldfinger, and they had an album called Open Your Eyes, and so I read the liner notes to that album, and actually uh, a lot of the members in that band are vegans, and so they had written in the liner notes of that album all about what happens to animals, for products that humans want to use. What actually happens for those things to get created. And I remember reading about what happens to animals in factory farms, and just thinking that's crazy. Like I didn't know that. It was quite a shock, but nonetheless, I still went to dinner that ordered something that I ordered, like a meat dish. But when it actually came out, I remembered everything that I had read, and I was just like, I didn't really see it as food anymore, and I didn't want to eat it. So I actually gave it to my dad, and I said, "Hey, I'm just not not really wanted to eat this. And so from that point, I actually went vegetarian for, I think it was around 6 to 8 months. And because I didn't research enough to kind of know that, dairy and eggs and all the other, I just sort of thought, oh, if I go vegetarian, that was sort of something I'd heard about. So I was like, oh, I'll do that. That makes sense. But dairy, because I thought, I was like, oh, I'll stop eating meat, but I'll eat all this other stuff. Ended up gaining weight. My acne got worse. I don't know how much of it was, just being a teenager, acne comes on or whatever. And, I wasn't feeling, I wasn't feeling happy with always being, having to explain myself at, when people would ask, why aren't you eating meat, or why are you, what's up? I was, tired of having to explain myself, tired of being, all the difficulties that a lot of people will know, if you do go vegan, it's not always a, and so I actually I went back to eating meat for a while after being vegetarian for a few months. And then it wasn't until it was a couple years later down the road, because I had basically, I think when I decided to go back to eating meat, I was in a rough place. I think I had broken up with a girlfriend or something like that, and it was not, I was just wanting to just be normal. I just wanted to be a normal person again, and I understand, and I think that's why a lot of people, they go back on being vegan, is because it can be difficult. It's hard being a vegan in a non-vegan world. Now, I don't think it's as hard as as a lot of people think it is. It's a lot easier than people think it is, but there are difficulties. And so, I didn't have any community. I didn't have any vegan friends or any vegetarian friends. I was all on my own, and I just sort of caved. And I'm not proud to say it, but I do tell people that, because I think it's normal for people to struggle with these things. And what I try to do is try to help people. So figured some special, like, no, I had my struggles too. But then it was first year university. I kept getting strep throat, right? So now I'm running into more health problems, and I'm like, I don't want to keep getting this strep throat. I was getting it like once or twice a year. So I looked up online, what causes this kind of stuff. And then I learned more about sort of the health, the side of it, where, ear, nose, and throat infection, it's very common for those to be caused by dairy products. And so as soon as I heard that, oh, dairy's not good for me. Well, what? Well, I still knew all the things that I had read, about how bad it is for the animals. So I was like, hey, you know what? It's bad for my health. It's bad for the animals. And I was just like, I'm just going to go vegan. And then from that point, I had a lot to learn, and I had a lot of struggles along the way. But that was really what started it all. And then as I started to figure things out, I, got more. I want to do with my life is to help people, make that change to be vegan and inspire people to do that. So then that's why I do the races that I do, the triathlon races that I do now, and creating social media content. That's all just to try to, help people and inspire people. And it's such a good feeling to wake up every day and to just feel like, I'm making my mark on the world in a positive way. Because I know this is good. I know that the more people who figure out, how to eat more plants, how to go vegan, it's going to make the world a better place. So that's my sort of journey. And I do content, and I, help people go vegan. And most recently now, I'm actually trying to do more stuff in schools. So if anybody knows a school that's looking for a virtual speaker, I'm talking to schools, doing like virtual guest speaking for, elementary, high school, colleges. So, that's sort of where I'm at right now. So that's it in a nutshell, I guess, in a few minutes there. But that's essentially what I'm all about.
That's awesome. And I can really relate to your whole, beginning with vegetarianism, because when I was in my late teens, when I was in college, I wanted to be vegetarian. So I was vegetarian when I was in college. But when I went back home, my inner circle was really worried about me, and there was just a lot of, criticism, and why are you doing that? And that's not, you can't get all your nutrition like that. So I caved and I gave in. So I ate meat when I was with them. And then when I went back to college, I just ate a vegetarian diet. At that point, I knew nothing about veganism, to be honest. But so I can really relate to your struggle there and not having a community and support for sure. I want to just pause and say thanks to everyone who's joining. And if you do have questions for Jason, please pop them down in the comment section below, and he'll be happy to answer them. And
Absolutely.
meanwhile, we can continue. So, Jason, tell us how you started, as an athlete, a triathlete, and what are some of the changes that you've noticed in your performance on a vegan diet?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just seeing some people, David, but partner, we've done a lot. He's a fellow vegan triathlete. Also, Carl Young, a weapon of a runner, vegan runner out there. So we're in good company here. But yeah, when it comes to the fitness stuff, I mean, it all started when I started. I mean, I played hockey growing up, right? I played hockey. I did skateboarding. I stopped playing hockey, I think, when I was around. It was around the same time that I went into high school, I guess. So it was probably when I was about that same time, 13, 14. I stopped playing hockey. But I saw what happened, right? For a few years there, I wasn't being physically active, gaining weight, not liking how I looked. And I remember in that first year of university, going through a breakup and really just having low self-confidence and just wanting to like get a body that was, looking good and able to do things and not sick. So I started out just saying, okay, well, I'm going to start, running. But the issue was, a lot of people try to start running, and what happens, you go for a few runs, maybe you start feeling good, and then you hurt your knees, right? And then people can't sustain, or you hurt yourself in some way, usually because you do too much too fast. Into cycling, and that was good because I could do a lot more of it and not have to worry about injuries. I think for a lot of people that's a really good way to go, is to get started with cycling or even just walking, hiking, low impact stuff, or swimming. But for me, it was cycling, and I just found that I had more energy, especially once I allowed myself to eat enough. And this is such a huge thing, because when I first went vegan, I was doing like, green juices and like super healthy. Like people would say, wow, you eat so healthy, so much salad, so many vegetables. But the thing was, I hadn't really embraced carbohydrates. There's a lot of sugar phobia. Definitely got and started losing some energy when I was about, I guess, the first year or so, maybe year or two into veganism. But I quickly understood that you need to eat enough carbohydrates to have enough energy. And as soon as I made that connection and I allowed myself to eat what I wanted, eat until I'm full, eating plant foods, which are for the most part high carbohydrate foods, eat as much as you want of those foods, and my energy went through the roof. And so I was doing more and more cycling, and that really spiraled into a lot of passion for triathlon. Swim, bike, and run. There's a whole section of my life where I went to Hawaii for 5 months, and I did woofing on farms, volunteering on organic fruit farms and learning about all that. And that's where I really fell in love with triathlon as well. I read Rich Roll's book, Finding Ultra. And I was in Hawaii, which is sort of like, the mecca of triathlon, I guess you could say. Ironman World Championships are there, etc. And that really inspired me to just, get into the fitness. And what I see with so many people is they are looking for these quick fix solutions, right? But for me, it was always more like, I want to enjoy this. I want this to be a long-term thing. Like, I always feel a bit of pain. I would rather stop that training session and like be able to do this for the rest of my life than to just go super hard and burn out, which is what I try to help people to understand, is that so many people want to do it all right now, right? They want to go vegan and eat the healthiest vegan diet right away, and they put so much pressure on themselves to be perfect, and or maybe maybe not even that, maybe they just want to lose a bunch of weight, and so they starve themselves for a few weeks, and that's how they approach it. Or they want to do some 10-day super high intensity fasting crazy thing. Like, people want things so fast. And I guess when I think about fitness, I think like fitness is designed to be, I don't know how from, you know, much more stressful situations than we have right now, and we used to have to do a lot more things throughout the day. So we need to find ways to make it fun and get movement in every day. Like for me, I find triathlon to be fun, but for somebody else, it's whatever kind of movement you enjoy. You gotta find a way to lean into that and make some fitness gains, because it really is, you know, we can't be healthy without being able to move our bodies in you know, we take it for granted, right? We take it for granted, and if we lose it, you know, you lose the ability to walk or run or to ride a bike or to swim. You know, you maybe think, maybe I should have been using that ability and honing it. So for me, it's triathlon, but fitness, it's whatever people want to do to move themselves and get a sweat on and, you know, burn some calories. That's the way to go about it, and just think long term, think sustainability. So for me, I love racing too. I mean, for me, I love putting on the vegan jersey and going to a race, and that really motivates me to go to a race wearing the vegan jersey, do well, get people thinking, oh, where does he get his protein? Like for me, that's
Yeah.
fun, you know? So if if you find that motivating, that's great. But maybe some people just want to go out and you know, socialize. Maybe it's a good way to socialize. You know, you get out on a daily walk with some neighbors or something like that. But building fitness into your life is, yeah, it's an absolute game changer. And if anybody's looking to get started, you just got to try to figure out what you like, try some things and figure out what's gonna keep you happy, because when you make it fun, you'll do it.
Totally, totally.
Yeah.
And that leads us into your activism, because you know, you say you put on your vegan jersey, and for me that's a form of activism. Now I know that you're also involved in what we call animal activism. So how did that start for you in terms of moving into that part of your vegan journey?
I remember back probably 2016, I guess, when people started putting up these kind of outreach videos. Like I remember watching Joey Carbstrong and, you know, Earthling Ed and you know, James Aspie and like all these other people, you know, that vegan couple who were starting to put out more content. Yeah, because as you said, in the beginning of it, I was definitely more sort of I mean, you know, the animals were always a part about it. A part of it is like my motivation is like it's just wrong when you look at what's happening to the animals. Wrong. I don't want to be a part of that. But I was very health focused for the sort of the first few years, trying to dial it in, trying to get myself figured out. And then once I started feeling really good, I think we have to remember, right, like Maslow's hierarchy of needs when we're trying to understand why people maybe aren't going vegan or why they're struggling with certain things. Like we need to get our needs met. And once I was sort of, you know, feeling really good and feeling like, I guess I never really thought about it before, but I think that is when I was sort of able to shift my focus to like talking about the animals and to helping other people. But yeah, seeing those conversations that some of the being 2016, 2017, you know, going to the streets with video footage of what happens to the animals and just straight up talking to anybody about it who seems to care, which thankfully a lot of people do seem to care. And I think that most people, when you do talk to them about it and you show them the footage of what's going on, it's very hard to find somebody who's okay with that and who doesn't see a problem with it. And so, you know, it just sort of became more and more apparent to me that there is a need for this, to like speak up about specifically the ethical issues. You know, in addition to I think that it's all important. You know, the environmental reasons, the health issues, it's all interconnected, because you know we can't ignore the fact that there are so many reasons. Like some people like to sort of have these debates, and I've done this myself. You know, trying to think what should I be talking about? Should we just be talking about the animals and not talking about health, or should we be focusing on one thing? I think like it's a very good thing that no matter what you talk about, it's a good idea to be eating more plants and not eating animals and animal products. And that's the beautiful thing about it to me, is that there just are so many reasons. But when it comes to doing the activism for the animals, I think that is often something that gets it's sort of left. I guess it gets pushed aside because it's so much more acceptable to talk about the health benefits of eating more plants, or the are the environmental
Yes.
benefits. You know,
Yes.
it's more PR friendly. It's
Yeah,
more, you're less likely to sort of
it is.
make people feel uncomfortable, because when you talk about the ethical stuff related to the animals, for many people, it really does feel for them as though you're making them feel like they're a bad person, right? Now you're just saying facts. Like if I'm out there talking to somebody about what happens to animals and animal exploitation, I'm not trying to make people feel bad. I'm not like I used to buy all these products myself and eat these things. Like it's just about getting the information out there and getting people thinking. But yeah, it's not always the goal. Try to make sure that I'm remembering to speak up for the animals as I would like to be spoken for if I were in their shoes. And it's a lot of vegans sort of tippy toe around these issues and sugarcoat it. And it's something that it's a tricky one, because I want to be effective in my communication with people so that they're not shutting off and not hearing what I have to say, but I still have to say what needs to be said. So it's something that I'm always trying to figure out what's the best way to communicate these things to people. And I don't think I have all the answers. I think we're all trying to figure it out. But at the heart of it, yeah, people who feel as though they want to help, that is an easy thing that you can do, is just to have a conversation with someone and just to what's going on or point in the right direction of it. Watch. Um, yeah, there's lots of ways to do it. Lots of different kinds of activism going on now. Like there's all kinds of different organizations and groups. So whatever form of activism feels good to you. Some people like to go to vigil. Some people like to go to the Cube of Truth. Some people like to, maybe you're a lawyer and you want to get active with, your local politicians or something like that. Like there's all kinds of things that you can do. So activism is very much needed, and I really encourage everybody to do what they can. And I also just want to say that there is a tendency in this community, the vegan community, for people to sort of be hypercritical of what people are doing. Right? It's not effective. This is what I would just like to humbly request that we
Yeah.
all respect that there's a lot of different ways to be active. So let's all just sort of try to support each other and yeah, do what feels best to us.
Yes, and I think that each person has their own role. They have their own forte, their own strengths. And some
Yeah.
people are just more effective coming at it from a health perspective, a human health perspective. Other folks are more, powerful coming at it from an animal rights perspective, and others from a planetary perspective or environmental perspective. So I really and I speak about this quite often. I
Yeah.
personally feel that bashing each other, you're not doing enough in this area, you're not doing enough in that area. To me, that's pointless. I think we just
Mhm.
need to just let everyone just show their strengths, use their gifts of communication in whichever way they can, because at the end of the day, we all have the same goals.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, that's perfectly said. I feel exactly the same way. And that's why I say, it's interesting to have these kinds of thoughts, and we should be brainstorming what's the most effective thing we can do. But as you say, to your point, right, like that's going to look different for every person. Everybody's got different skills, and there is no one size fits all. So it's all about just looking at yourself and saying, what can I do? What's going to be most effective for me to do?
Exactly. Exactly. So, tell us a bit about your focus on transition coaching. In other words, helping folks to transition from a standard dieting lifestyle to a vegan dieting lifestyle. What made you focus on that? And tell us a bit about your coaching program, please.
Yeah, so I have a Facebook group. Anybody can join it if you want to join Jason Fonger's vegan coaching group on Facebook. And this is just a place where I invite people to come and just share anything that you're struggling with or any questions you have. I'm available to help people out if anybody wants to do one-on-one coaching, or even like I've coached families before, like people who want to just have a weekly check-in and just sort of keep ticking along with the transition or whatever. I love helping people with that, and it's so it makes me smile because it's so much easier than people think. It is so much easier than people think, and it and people get in their own way a lot. It's like it's easy to overcomplicate things, And you know, it's the hardest part is, like I was sort of saying before, is like it's the fact that, you know, when, if you're one, right, who's trying to transition, your whole family is, you know, their whole family, they all want to do it, or maybe, you know, so when I say it's easy, I guess I mean like that the actual steps of like switching what you're eating, you know, and learning a little bit about this or that. Like it's not that hard. But what I really like to be there for is to just help people weather those storms that they'll inevitably face at some point. You know, these difficulties, you know, with whether it's with family or with food as well. Like the thing that I see in coaching and just observing what's out there is there's so much. Everybody's talking about restriction. Like everybody's talking about, you know, counting your calories or cutting your carbs, or like, you know, it's very, like, to me, I like to teach people how to eat as much as they want of the right foods. And I mean, it really, to simplify it, like if you want to just simplify it, you don't need to get coaching from me. I'm happy to coach people, but it's basically, it comes down to this: if you know how many carbs you need per day, that is a number that is very, very helpful. So like for me, I'm an elite athlete. I want to have good athletic performance. I know that 10 grams of carbohydrates per gram of body weight per day. And that's like I try to hit that number at least. And then if I feel like I'm more hungry, I eat more. I eat more because I need it, you know? Now for other people, they might be doing a lower level of you know, activity. And so that number might be lower, but I would still recommend like it might be as low as, you know, 7 grams per day might make you feel good. It depends on the person, but the point is you don't want to be restricting. Like I like to know that minimum number, because if I don't hit that number, I'll tend to, you know, I'd start to get irritable, or you know, I'd start to lack the energy, or I can't finish my session. And so I like to have that number as a goal, and then I just take a third of that number, and then that's what I shoot for a meal, and then that's really it. And then I try to eat a huge variety, you know, getting that variety of plant foods and getting, you know, the different kinds of fibers. But yeah, that's really, you know, there's a lot to it, but it's so basic. It's just, you know, it's just eating more plants, incorporating more plant foods, leaning into what you'd like to eat, leaning into what makes you feel good. And yeah, it's amazing. Like or even just one day, even just one meal. Like there are people who are probably watching this, or definitely this, you know, millions of people out there who for probably like years or maybe their whole life, they haven't allowed themselves to feel good about being full. And that to me is so sad. It's so sad. I love food so much. You know, like and people don't need to restrict. Like this is the great news, is that like everybody thinks that they're just lacking some mental you know, like willpower, right? It's just when you are not getting enough fuel, you will not be able to make good food choices. And so what happens is we restrict, and then we end up making a terrible food choice, and we might feel full, but we're not going to feel good about that because we just, you know, gorged on ice cream or whatever, right? So yeah, I like to help people feel good about eating as much as they like, and it's a great thing. It's a beautiful thing to see people, you know, get comfortable with leaning into the little you're playing with there though. It's good stuff. You got hearts above your head right now. Love it. Does that mean you like what I'm saying? If you got the hearts coming out of your head?
That was that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, that was actually a mistake. I actually hit that little button by mistake, but then I liked it, and I said, "Well, yeah, let me keep it." So yeah, I'm
There
glad
you
you
go.
like it.
Cool. Right on.
So is your Facebook group private, public?
Okay, so it's a anybody can find it. Anybody should be able to find it. I hope. And then it's you just got to, it's a private group, so you can see what's going on in the group. But it's yeah, it's free to join. And I'm going to be doing like a training. I won't say too. I haven't decided what to call it yet, but I'm going to be doing like a multiple day kind of workshop thing in the next few weeks. So stay tuned for that. And if you're interested, then join the Facebook group and you'll be able to check it out. So we've got some sirens around here. The police are going to be coming by, and they're saying you can't be talking on all this vegan stuff. We're going to get in trouble.
No, don't worry. I know you're in a big city, and believe me, I have that happen here sometimes too. So I totally understand. I just feel terrible for whoever they're rushing to help, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you know what? That's not the police. I think that's I think that was that a fire truck or something? Anyway, yeah, no, it's true. Hopefully they're
Yeah,
like
yeah,
okay.
it sounded. Yeah. So tell us a bit, please, about your TikTok account. Um, what's your focus? I know you have some big numbers of followers or whatever you call it, subscribers. Or so tell me about your focus. What's your main thrust? Your main, I guess, message on TikTok?
Yeah, I think TikTok is a funny one. I don't know. I've made a whole bunch of random videos and just tried a lot of different stuff. It's like, I mean, I've been living in Thailand for the past 6 or 7 years, and speak some Thai, and so I made a few kind of silly videos speaking Thai, and those kind of launched me into like virality in Thailand. I guess I've got probably most of my followers are Thai for sure. So I try to throw the vegan message in those videos as best as I can. But yeah, it's a strange one because my Thai is not that great, and I really would love to be able to speak more, I don't know, eloquently, or I guess just be able to express myself better in Thai. Uh, it's something that I kind of, maybe I should put a bit more effort into learning the language or whatever. But I feel like even when I do plenty of English videos as well, and those I've had lots and lots of views on the English stuff as well. TikTok's amazing, like the amount of reach you can get on there. But the focus is, it's the same thing. I don't know if you ever watched the Pinky and the Brain. It's like the same thing we try to do every night. We're going to try to take over the world. That's kind of how I feel like everything I do. It's just focusing on just trying to help people make that connection. And with TikTok, it started as more of a younger audience. So I was, I don't know, trying to maybe use a bit more of the youthful vocabulary or whatever. I mean, like just trying to be relatable to kids, right? Be relatable to young people. Talk about things that they might find relevant. Like I made a video that got a lot of hate, but it's good because it's good discussion. I made a video about like why all school cafeterias should only serve vegan food, right? And I just kind of made a question: what would you think if your school only served vegan food, right? And just getting people thinking about that. Now I don't know if that's the best tactic, because maybe people just hate me right off the bat because I'm trying to take away their bacon and eggs, but you know what? It's trial and error, right? You don't know what's going to work. And I think something to remember too, and this goes back, activism and just putting stuff out there, whatever. Like you never know what's going to connect with somebody, right? And like that's that first viral video that I got in Thailand, post it because like video, and I was like, I look stupid or whatever. But like, boom, there's tons of people who have seen my content now as a result of me just saying, oh yeah, I'm going to put that out there. And it's a weird one because we oftentimes we like to we want to curate how people view us. We're so, at least as a creator, I find that a lot. Like I limit myself in my output because I'm worried about how people might perceive me. But what I've found is the less I do that, and the more I just sort of put myself out there and don't really care how it's received, the better it does tend to get received. So that's something that I'm working on, and I encourage other people to do, is just to just put it out there. Any thoughts you're having, or like an idea you have for a video or whatever, like don't take it too seriously. Just throw it out there, see what happens. Worst thing that happens is it flops, and you just can't take that too seriously either. If you don't get some numbers, okay, then what does that tell me? Maybe that tells me maybe I can hone things a little bit, but it's not a failure, right? It's just a part of the process. So that's really what I try to do on TikTok, is I try to just let myself And I find myself going through phases. You know, I'll have like a few days where I just pump out a ton of videos, and like maybe a few days where I don't really feel like it. And you know, I think that's okay too. You know, but I try to just allow myself to um, creatively express whatever I feel like on there, and just have fun with it. You know, but it's always rooted in like, how am I going to get people thinking about veganism? How am I going to get this seed planted in their head? You know, even if it's a silly video that's completely unrelated, try to have something in there, or at least if they watch that video, they'll see some of my other videos, and those will have vegan message. So yeah, TikTok is a fun little platform there. If anybody's not been on it, then I'd highly recommend it. Lots of fun.
Now, I have listened. We're kind of flipping over to the next topic, which is your podcast. I listened to a couple of your podcasts. I super love them, and in one of them, you mentioned
Oh, thanks.
Gary. You mentioned Gary V, and I am a super fan of
Yep.
Gary V. And Gary V obviously, recommends using TikTok, and he also
Hmm.
recommends not giving a hoot as to what people think about your content, and also not deciding for the audience. In other words, a lot of
Right.
times we filter ourselves and we're like, oh no, I'm not going to post that because people won't like it. Well, how do we know people won't like it? We are making that decision for the audience, which is totally nutso, right? So I
Yeah.
I was super excited when I heard you talk about Gary V. I could have done a cartwheel, but I was actually having a walk outside, so that would not be very appropriate. However, let's go to your podcast, because I want you to tell us a bit about your podcast, please.
Yeah, I started. So it's the Vegan Champion podcast. If anybody wants to check it out, it's on all the platforms. And the idea was to just sort of like showcase, all the different people who are champions of the vegan message, right? A little play on words. I mean, I'm an athlete, whatever, champion, but you can be a champion for the vegan message, right? So that's why the Vegan Champion podcast. And it's been amazing, just like having all these conversations and making new relationships with people who have reached out to be on the show, or who have reached out to me. And the whole idea is just to showcase, as we were talking about before, everybody has different skills or different things that they might want to do, or that feel good to them, that they can do, that are constructive for the kind of, creating the kind of world that we want to see, right? So yeah, the idea is to try to have a variety of people on there, showcase different ways that you can be a champion for the vegan cause. And it's like it's kind of in the same ways that I do a lot of experimentation with the podcast. Like, I haven't quite figured it out. There's a few different formats that I've used, and I kind of want to let myself get a bit more creative with that podcast. I feel like TikTok is like I feel a little bit easier with just messing around with stuff on there. But the podcast, like, I kind of feel like every one needs to be, more well produced, and maybe that's the way to go. So I'm trying to figure it out. Let me know what you guys think. If you like episodes, I'd love to know. Maybe we can talk. Like, if you want to let me know what you thought, or anything after the call or whatever. I don't know if you want to give me feedback, but I'm always open if anybody wants to leave a review. But the whole thing is like, it's there's so much going on out there. There's so many people doing cool things, and like I try to listen to different kind of podcasts, and just get a sense of what's going on out there. And there is so much happening. Like, I went vegan 10 years ago, or over 10 years ago now, and like, to see all the things that are happening now versus then, it's just crazy. So the podcast, probably more than anything, is an excuse for me to pick some brains of people who are doing things, and just try to bring other people along for the ride. But yeah, it's talking about Gary V there. I mean, yeah, if there's probably anybody who's helped me, as an influencer, like, he's definitely really helped me understand, what it looks like to have that. It's just almost, he makes it so effortless. The way that he talks about putting out content and creating content is, he's just such a great example of, just letting it flow and putting it out there, putting out tons of content, being real, not putting on feeling like you have to put on a face every time, and just, yeah, and not, not, as you said, not judging the content before you even put it out there, right? Because I don't know what's going to land with people, you know, and there's like to think if I didn't post that TikTok and you know get millions of views on it, that would have been a shame. I never would have known, right? So that's that kind of it helps to just kind of lean into putting stuff out there. Now you always want, and I struggle with this because I always want to try to make sure that I'm putting out good stuff, right? I don't want to just put out a whole bunch of junk. I want to try to put out good stuff, but then again, what I think is junk might be you know somebody might enjoy that or find it helpful. So, but what he talks about and what I try to do is I always do try to think about how am I going to help people, right? Like always asking that question: how is this content going to help you? Is it going to make them laugh, right? If it makes them laugh, okay, I'm helping people. You know, maybe I'm not turn them vegan, and then they see my other stuff and go vegan, right? Or maybe I make a video that's just very to the point, like this is all vegans need to hear. Like, stop being afraid of carbohydrates. Embrace, you know, embrace eating enough. Podcast is super fun, and yeah, Gary Vee is definitely, you know, I wouldn't be on TikTok if it weren't for Gary Vee. So yeah, I'm glad to hear you like him too. I'm so stoked. He's very cool guy. I love his message. Anybody who's thinking about getting on social media or who wants to, you know, do a better job of it, definitely check him out. Gary Vee, he's a man.
Totally. I'm a super fan. So we only have about 15 minutes left. So tell us, please, about how do you handle naysayers, critics of our vegan diet and lifestyle?
I think you know, there's different kinds of naysayers, right? There's the people who are, I mean, yeah, like if we could clarify, like, could you give me an example? Like, who are you? Because when we say naysayers, I guess I'm talking like, are we thinking like, because there's comments, right? There's like TikTok comments, right? Like I got tons of naysayers you could say in the TikTok comments, right? And they'll,
Okay, so them, for example, let's take
yeah, yeah,
that group.
sure, yeah. So they basically, when I see that somebody is commenting even in a negative way, right? Like they're showing interest right there. Like it's not that they don't care. Like the funniest comment is when somebody comments and they say they don't care. Because if you didn't care, you would have scrolled after like a couple seconds. You know, like I'm not holding anybody to watch my videos or to comment. If somebody comments, then that's them showing interest. So that's the first thing like to remember. Like as a creator, I have to remember that people who are hating on me, and this is something again, Gary Vee talks about this as well, and it's totally true. And I've, you know, the naysayers, if somebody's really coming at you and really, you know, saying mean things to you, you have to just wonder what's going on in that person's life that makes them want to leave that kind of negativity for somebody else. Negativity. Well, I said that weird. Negativity. But yeah, the you know
Well,
the whole thing is, yeah, no. Were you gonna say something there? I think there's
yeah,
a
no,
bit of a
but
lag, but I
Gary
think,
Vee, yeah, yeah, Gary Vee writes them love letters, basically.
yeah, right. And yeah, I wouldn't say I write love letters, but I'll often respond in a very kind way. You know, just try to just say, hey, like, you know, I'm sorry you feel that way, or I'm sorry, you know, that you know, you felt the need to leave that negativity. But you know, I hope this video was glad to see this video made you think. Like I don't know, you know, but oftentimes I won't necessarily respond. Sometimes I will, but it's more so. I think the danger is that I see like of the naysayers. It's like I want to have like an army of people creators, right? Like when I see people who are out there and creating vegan content, like it just warms my heart. It makes me so happy. Like I love seeing people who are putting themselves out there. It's amazing, right? And we need more of that. And the sad thing is that so many people never do that, or they stop doing it, or they don't do it enough because of the naysayers, right? They let the naysayers get to them. So it's super, super important for people to remember that, you know, 99.999% of the time, if you go to the profile of somebody who leaves you a nasty comment, they have never posted a video, or you know, they're not showing their face. And so like, you know, you just have to keep it, keep it keep it in context with like what you're receiving. So yeah, you just gotta, you know, remember what is motivating these people to say negative things. Now, there are some people who, you know, they want to actually have there's something about veganism that they don't understand, right? And actually, this is probably this is pretty much everybody, right? Pretty much anybody who's, in my opinion, I could be wrong about this, but basically, people who aren't vegan, there's something that isn't connecting for them, right? That's the way I see it. Because to me, it just makes so much sense to you know, make this decision to move away from animal exploitation for so many reasons, that if people are having trouble with that and they really think it's not a good idea, I do want to understand why they think that, because it's really just a matter of understanding what it is that is you know, what's their issue with, why do they think it's not a good idea, what's the problem exactly, and then let's address it. Like, I'm like, you know, because I'm not going to call people names or whatever. Like, there's no need for that. It's just, we need to talk about this and understand what it is that is not quite connecting. And some people are very receptive to that, and it's just a matter of explaining something to them, or, you know, referring them to some sort of a source for them to look things up further for themselves. And other times people don't want to hear it, and they're just throwing out excuses because they're not ready. They don't want to change. And those people, I find, it can be difficult to get through those people. If people don't want to change and they're resistant, and, you know, the conversation's not flowing, then that's not somebody that I should put my energy into, because they're not being receptive. But if there's somebody who's a naysayer and we're having a good discussion, and we're, you know, we're thinking critically through things, you know, I'm all for that. I love that. And I even had a podcast episode where I had a hunter, somebody who's, you know, regularly out hunting. I said, let's have a conversation, because that person was willing to learn more, and I want to learn more about how hunters think about their role in conservation, because a lot of hunters claim to, you know, be really concerned about that. So yeah, that was a good episode, and I think that it's good to lean into certain kinds of naysayers in those situations, for sure.
Yeah, and I think what you're getting it at is, it's, you know, some people are just not ready. So if they're not ready, no matter how, you know, intelligently you communicate, you know, the argument for a vegan diet and lifestyle, they are just not ready. So we have to meet people where they are. Now,
Yeah.
when they're ready, you know, you've already built your platform, your messages, etc., your compassion. You've built all of that. So when they're ready, they know where to find you, and they will come and find you. So I totally agree with you. Like, there's just no point in, you know, hitting your head against the wall, because it doesn't serve you or the other person very well. Now, we have 10 minutes left, so let's go to the topic of newbies. So new vegans, vegan curious, vegan friendly people. What's your advice for those folks who want to start their vegan journey?
I guess, like, the first thing that comes to mind is, if you can get amongst some community of some kind, that'll be really helpful. Because I think that's, I mean, for me, I know I struggled with that, and I know a lot of people struggle with that. Is they just feel like if they're new to being vegan or whatever, like they don't know anybody who's vegan. Like, they don't have anybody to talk to about these things, and you know, it's for a lot of new vegans in particular, you know, it can be quite a shock. Like, if you see Earthlings, you see Dominion or something, and you're like, I want to go vegan, but like, you're in some dystopia, because like, everybody around you is still, you know, brainwashed, and they don't get it, and you think, what, am I crazy or what? That's the first thing I think is, if you think about the internet right now, is like, there's great ways to connect with other vegans, whether it's a you know, Facebook group. Like, you can join my Facebook group. You could do Challenge 22 and get, you know, you get like a mentor in that, and, you know, like, there's, or a local Facebook group, or a local vegan group in your city. Like, there's all kinds of options. Even lots of universities and like schools, or even, you know, there's clubs popping up, you know, people who are, you know, vegan clubs and stuff. So I would say that's a great place to start. Some again, like just make sure that you're eating enough, because the main, when it comes to actually executing like a plant-based diet, the main issue that I see people running into is they don't eat enough, because coming from eating animal foods, those foods are, they're higher in saturated fat, and they're just higher in calories. It's more uh, densely, compact. Like if a plate of standard American diet food versus like a whole food plant-based meal, you're going to have to eat a lot more volume to get the same amount of energy. So when people say, oh, I tried the vegan thing for a week or two and like I didn't have any energy, it's like, yeah, I could see what you ate for those 2 weeks. I can guarantee you under eating, and that's why you didn't have any energy. So that's the riddle solved right there. So that's why I say get the number, figure out, like I think everybody should be an athlete, because I think that doing lots of exercise makes everybody, like it's great. I think everybody should be getting out there doing tons of exercise. So I say aim for 10 grams. And some people are going to think I'm insane for recommending this, but this is sports, this sports nutritionist recommending this all the time. 10 grams of carbohydrates per kilogram of body weight per day. If you're not that comfortable with that, maybe try 7 grams per day. But have a number that you're aiming for. Be objective with how much you're eating, because if you don't eat enough, you're not going to have enough energy, and that's the biggest thing that newbies run into. I definitely made that mistake myself, so I try to help people avoid that. So yeah, I guess that's two easy things for people who are new or thinking about transitioning. Get your community and make sure you're eating enough.
Totally. I agree. Now, tell us where, I'm going to skip the future projects for a sec because I want to be sure we get this. Tell us where it's the best place for people to contact you for more information, collaboration, etc.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody wants to send me an email, you can always email me at jasonfongerinfo@gmail.com. You can just send me a direct email there. But you can go to my website and check out jasonfonger.com. And if you want to listen to the podcast, it's wherever you listen to the podcast. It's just called the Vegan Champion Podcast. And I'm just Jason Fonger on all the platforms. Feel free to send me a message on your platform of choice here on Instagram if you want to send me a message if you have questions or anything like that. But yeah, the hub, I guess the hub community for people, and if you want to ask me questions on there, then I can answer them there, and then everybody in the group can benefit from that. So yeah, appreciate people checking the group out. It's just called Jason Fonger's Vegan Coaching Group on Facebook.
Awesome. So tell us a bit about your future vegan related projects and services that you have coming up.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, the schools, I'm really trying to, because I know that if there's a way for me to get in front of more young people and help young people understand why this stuff's so important, that's really, I think, the most likely to be the most receptive audience for it. So I'm really doubling down on that and trying to get schools to understand. So if anybody has any connections to any kind of schools or anything like that, I'd really appreciate that, because that's something that I'm trying to build up, is just getting into schools and yeah, helping that. So again, if you send me an email, jasonfongerinfo@gmail.com, if you'd be interested in having me come to your school or a school that you're somehow connected to. But you can also look forward to some, there's going to be always new content coming out. So if you guys want to follow me, I'm just going to keep smashing out content. And yeah, trying to get into schools right now is the biggest thing for me. Just focusing on that, and because yeah, I'd really love to do that full time. I've done a lot of English teaching and stuff in the past, and I really just want to I want to focus my energy on what I feel is most important. So yeah, that's the biggest thing for me. I don't know about races. Who knows? I don't know. Like in terms of the next, I haven't done a real triathlon or a real race in a while. That's been a weird year, but I wish I could announce something, but I feel like I need some kind of a project, some kind of to look after. I did a half marathon yesterday, so that was good, but no race plans right now, unfortunately. But stay tuned to the
Oh,
to the
wow.
social networks, and yeah, that'll happen soon enough, I'm sure.
Awesome. Yeah, well, it is a weird year and a challenging year for everyone with this pandemic worldwide. So that's
Absolutely.
understandable. So Jason, in the next 2 minutes, please tell us anything you want to wrap us up with, put a bow on it, and just send us off with a message here, please.
Well, first I want to just thank you so much, Angel, for having me on. It's been so great talking to you, and you're such a better host than I am. I got to learn how to interview people better, so it's something I'm always working on. So I appreciate the good conversation. But for leaving people with something, I mean, I guess it's just, you know, you gotta find meaning in life. Like for me, as I said, it's what gets me out of bed every morning. It's what makes me show up to those hard training sessions so that I can rock up to the races and try to do something good that's gonna make people think about their choices. That it motivates me, right? And for me, what I'm motivated by leads me to do something specific to me, right? But if we're all watching this, we're all interested in veganism, and we all want to do something good for whether your motivation is more for the animals or more for your health or more for whatever it is. There's all these different reasons, and we just I want to encourage people to stay really connected to that reason that they are vegan or that they want to be vegan. Just make sure that you remember that and allow that to help you get through difficult times that you might have, or to help you get through a hard day, or to show up to do the hard things. Is that keep coming back to that sense of purpose, and as to why this is also important, because there's a lot of problems that are happening in the world right now, and they're happening because we are exploiting animals. And it doesn't have to be complicated to move away from it. We all just need to do our part, and we just all got to show up. So stay connected with why you're vegan, and do the best you can to make a positive change.
Well, I think that's an awesome closing message. And I just want to, again, thank you so much, Jason. I am going, and I want to thank everyone who joined live or on the replay. I'm going to save it to my feed, to stories, and it'll be up there on IGTV, I guess, forever. And so, again, thank you so much,
Ever.
Jason. And I'll send you a message afterwards. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Angel. Thanks so
So
much. This has been great.
I'll send you a
Super
message.
fun.
Thanks so much, and take care. Awesome. For me
Thanks.
too. Take care.
How do I
Bye,
leave this thing? What
everybody.
do I have to do?
Bye-bye.
I don't know if you have to kick me out
I'm
or what.
just going to end
Oh,
it.
there we go. Okay, I'm out of here.
I'll end it.